through this one, I say, oh, these others are also kindred.
Yes.
These guys, so that I start to see that's a miraculous intervention. In other words, through the one, I say, oh, but there's then this one, and this one, and this one, and which one over here? Wow, and then there's that one in the past. I start to realize that through this one, I have that now. Through this one, let's go through the one guy. Now I'm in a holy relationship with this guy, because it's not, it's a very, very vague physical relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say it's a holy relationship because it's releasing me into understanding the way I relate to this larger world of people. Opportunities or demands, however I look at it, of that relationship start to unfold. And my purpose is what the Holy Spirit is suggesting to me. Change your purpose. It's not to be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to be a friend to all. It's not to figure out anybody's issues.
Right.
It's to see the atonement. It's to live and experience this atonement through the means supplied by the Holy Spirit. So if I have one glimmer of fear that the relationship will turn inappropriate, that I'm going to be asked something that's over the top, mm-hmm. that I don't have the equipment to handle this particular situation. If any of those things enter in, and obviously they have to a small degree because I just mentioned them.
Right.
It's back to the Holy Spirit. It's back to that. And to say, no, this is the holy relationship. It's general. We're not working with this guy with the check shirt. Mm-hmm. We're working with the sonship. We're working with everybody. And the only person I'm working with is the Holy Spirit.
Right. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Section 5, The Happy Dream. Prepare you now for the undoing of what never was. If you already understood the difference between truth and illusion, the atonement would have no meaning. The holy instant, the holy relationship, the Holy Spirit's teaching, and all its means by which salvation is accomplished would have no purpose. For they are all but aspects of the plan to change your dreams of fear to happy dreams, from which you waken easily to knowledge. Put yourself not in charge of this, for you cannot distinguish between advance and retreat. Some of your greatest advances you have judged as failures, and some of your deepest retreats you have evaluated as success.
And it doesn't. My first thought is, I wonder what those are.
I know.
But it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. No, I know. It does make me ponder the same thing about what are my advances, that I thought were advances.
Yeah, what disasters did I go through?
And what disasters were
and
actually...
that were actually great steps forward.
Right. And, but now in the happy dream, it's a reminder that there's an undoing of that which was never, what that never was. And because there's several places in the Course that speaks that the journey it's already over. It's almost as if we've stepped into a realm where all has been answered, all has been accomplished, all the worries and everything else, it was all wrapped up. The instant that the mad idea happened, the answer was there.
Yeah, it's simultaneous.
It was simultaneous.
It makes no sense, right?
But to us who are in time, that's a hard concept to fathom.
In other words, this very confusion we're in sets up the drama of salvation.
Yes.
It's Clarence in the first scene, or that first part of the scene of It's a Wonderful Life, where
Right.
he says, "I jumped in to save you, George."
I
It's
know.
like
I know.
there's this whole process of us being messed up. In some ways, is the amazing discovery of love, the discovery of partnership, the discovery of the nightmare that wasn't. You got to have a
Right.
nightmare to have the nightmare that wasn't.
Right.
And it's it's beautiful that way. And so that in terms of solving the world's problems, I know I've been harping on that because there are some situations going on, and Joanna and
Mm-hmm.
I actually decided to kind of focus on that as a kind of a theme. It's too big. Is to realize that the so-called problems of the world are my own personal problems. I know that there's stuff that seems intractable, difficult to change, but it's this. All we have to do is this willingness,
Mm-hmm.
and then look for witnesses. Willingness and look for witnesses, and to see what happens. From my point, from both of our points, so far I've seen only an increase in the subtlety and the volume of what I would consider miraculous interventions.
Right.
And as I've said in other places, the difficulty in some ways is, all right, boom, been there, done that. We got that one out of the way. We solved that one. No, no. You dealt with that situation over there, and you see movement in it. Because what's interesting is, just as a for instance, we've been working on certain situations, certain moving pieces, and we got more spectacular and wonderful answers than we thought we could get. And I'm saying that with no hyperbole. I'm
Right.
just saying it's been quite astounding. Now, many of those same moving pieces are developing problems. They're developing problems. In other words, but it's problems at a different level, in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be, to me, a restless, desire to continuously go for this thing.
For the partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never approach the holy instant after you have tried to remove all fear and hatred from your mind. That is its function. Never attempt to overlook your guilt before you ask the Holy Spirit's help. That's his function. Your part is only to offer him a little willingness to let him remove all fear and hatred and be forgiven. On your little faith, joined with his understanding, he will build your part in the atonement and make sure that you fulfill it easily. And with him, you will build a ladder planted in the solid rock of faith and rising even to heaven. Nor will you use it to ascend to heaven alone. You understand what this is saying? Saying we are not saved alone.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, all of these moving pieces I just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
they seem to be other people. They seem to be other personalities. They seem to be these situations.
Right.
And we thought, oh, look, there was something like a miracle in that area. There, let's move on. No, look at that. There's now a wrinkle in there. It's our curriculum. And the curriculum is to deepen this and to make it easy, as it says in the lessons of miracles, whatever the principles of miracles, is that they should be natural and frequent and
Right.
habitual.
Habitual. Yeah, habitual. Yeah, and all of these reminders that, that it tells us that, do not approach it as if you need to have all your fears removed, all your hatreds from your mind. Don't do what is the Holy Spirit's function. It understands that in this realm we have fears. We have these ideas about other people, other situations, and everything else. And the fact that we want to partner with the Holy Spirit means that is a willingness in itself. And so it allows for this, as you said, the relationship to build. And it does. I've found that it builds a kind of a momentum, almost as if it becomes a mechanism that has a certain kind of energy that begins to work more continuously. where it used to be, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And if there is the sense that, wow, the Holy Spirit really is working in our lives, in your lives, then that's just full on gratitude. There's nothing else that's required. It's just,
Well, look, okay,
it's
I've
just
got
gratitude.
it. I want to sort of get into a specific,
Okay.
in a way. There's a person. I'm going to be very, very generic, but I've got specific people in my mind. There's a person, and I was concerned about this person because this person seemed isolated and almost kind of suicidal, removed. Their life has been very difficult, full of pain. They feel marginalized, and it's just kind of a mess. And yet you could see that there's a thoughtful person there. And I saw in this person really an aspect of a dream figures that I've had in myself. So I recognized clearly, I said, once again, we're given an opportunity here for me in the waking dream to see that aspect of the sleeping dream image to be there. Now this is in a whole group of people, but there's this one person that's there. So I've done nothing. I've done nothing. I've just held him in mind, and I've said with the Holy Spirit this, can we see something here? Can we see something that tells me that I'm connected, that he and I are connected in a sublime way? And there have been along that route, I haven't done anything in particular other than to try to be awake to this person as someone in my world. And so I say, hi, how you doing? How's it going? That kind of thing. Nothing particularly wonderful. But I have felt a warmth toward this person, given that I've established this other relationship through the Holy Spirit, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I actually
So there's
do.
a warmth. Well, not long ago, this guy, he shows up and he says he feels great. He feels better. He's wearing a blue check shirt instead of the usual black hoodie. He's smiling, and he feels positive about his life. When he was discussing this kind of like this brooding sense of psychotic, split kind of a thing just not long ago. And so to me, I never really judged that stuff because I've been around, quote unquote craziness enough so that none of it bothers me. At this point anyway, unless I'm physically threatened, I'm not bothered by quote unquote craziness. And but he's restored like this. Now, that doesn't mean that one's done, right? I mean, it's like, okay, well, that's what I'm saying by the been there, done that. So there's this individual who there's a miracle attached to it. But within that individual, there's going to be other challenges. Let's say it's going forward, how he socializes, or how I figure in his socializing.
Right.
Do I want to figure in those things? Do I want distance between me?
But you also said that these are reflections of yourself.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm saying, is that, but they're happening in 3D. And so I'm just saying that now the miracle is there. I see this, and I feel it. Okay, I feel it. The miracle, the Holy Spirit's work.
Yeah, there is a what I call almost like a palpable presence that.
But it goes towards almost intimacy, almost an unfolding, lotus-like of that relationship as symbolic or as worthy in the model that this life is of going forward, and just checking my own tendency to say, no, I've done that, now I'm done, kind of a thing.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So that the Holy Spirit is constantly moving, so that a thing that you thought you dealt with, this is what's up for me right now, this principle. The thing that I thought I dealt with starts to, wow, amazing results, but then I see it manifest as other pieces, other moving parts within the one. As we start to develop this saving force, this partnership with the Holy Spirit to heal myself and to heal the planet, to
Right.
heal. But we start with our curriculum, and that curriculum is extremely dynamic.
Right. You can only start with self anyway. I mean, to heal anyone else without allowing that partnership so that you can have that healing
Well, and ultimately,
sense.
when that happens,
Others are healed at the same time.
well, others are healed, and I don't view those others as other than myself. That's why this ladder is set on bedrock, and that others are joining me in that process. There's
Yes.
no way for moi to get enlightened and to do it alone. It cannot happen.
Right. Paragraph 3. Through your holy relationship, reborn and blessed in every holy instant you do not arrange, thousands will rise to heaven with you. Can you plan for this? Or could you prepare yourself for such a function? Yet it is possible because God wills it, nor will he change his mind about it. The means and purpose both belong to him. You have accepted one, the other will be provided. A purpose such as this, without the means, is inconceivable. He will provide the means to anyone who shares his purpose.
Have I ever heard anything like this? No. And check my tendency to think it's hyperbole. Check my tendency to think that it's not just a factual explanation of the world we live in as separated beings, and that there is this loving presence, solution, atonement glued to my situation. So that it says thousands.
Right.
So, if I'm having a hard time,
thousands will rise to heaven with you.
if I'm having a hard time bending over to tie my shoe, and then I partner with the Holy Spirit, there's this psychological drama of me tying my shoe because of, I don't know why. It doesn't much matter why. But I finally get down there partnering with the Holy Spirit, and I feebly try to do my shoelaces. It's not a lonely person tying their shoelaces in the privacy of their own universe. It's a connectivity with the rest of people who are likewise. Can you imagine how connected those people who are all challenged by the shoelace analogy? I know that's a ridiculous example, but all these people are challenged in the privacy of their home, embarrassed. They're humiliated because they can't reach their shoelaces, or their shoelaces are broken, or because they don't know how to tie shoelaces, or whatever their problem is with their shoelaces. No one will see these private dramas. No one. But they're united. And when that one person, I don't mean to be sort of like Rupert Sheldrake about this thing, but the thing is, those people are united, and this one person is exerting saving force through the partnership with the Holy Spirit, not his own heroic. Let's say that person heroically figures out the shoelace drama, and he gets down there, and finally he can be poster child for, I did my shoelaces. That is, in a sense, less effective, and maybe not effective at all.
It has arrogance with it.
Right. That partnership of saying, wow, I am messed up, me with my shoelaces. I need some help here. I'm afraid to ask. It's so stupid to ask for this. And you partner with that, but there are so many thousands of people in that wrinkle
Yes.
of psychodrama.
Yes. And so every time we heal that by coming together with the Holy Spirit, as it says, thousands are led to heaven together.
Paragraph 4. Happy dreams come true, not because they are dreams, but only because they are happy. And so they must be loving. Their message is, thy will be done, and not, I want it otherwise. The alignment of means and purpose is an undertaking impossible for you to understand. Reread this. The alignment of means and purpose is an undertaking impossible for you to understand. You do not even realize you have accepted the Holy Spirit's purpose as your own, and you would merely bring unholy means to its accomplishment. The little faith it needed to change the purpose is all that is required to receive the means and use them. The little faith needed to change the purpose. In other words, was the purpose for me to galvanize my isolation, galvanize my heroic effort, galvanize my frustration with reality? Was that the purpose? Or was my purpose to say, there must be another way? We're in a shared reality. We're here together. That's the purpose, and it's just a little bit of a shift. Suddenly, the means are available.
Yeah.
And the means are the means of God. They're massively potent.
Yeah, the purpose is always the healing of the mind to another way of understanding. And so, and then the means are done. And what was the healing of the mind? Is that I give up, I want it otherwise, or I want it thus. You know, so whenever we approach something and we think that we have to have it our way in order for it to be okay, we're saying that we're not saying thy will be done. And not, I want to see it heal not only my ideas, but the whole sonship's ideas of what is ever up for me.
If I use the example I just gave, to try to ground it out of abstractions.
Right.
There's this guy, and he's in this situation. And he, again, as I've said before, it's not the kind of guy I would strike up a friendship with. As I've talked about Tony repeatedly with his swastika tattoo. It's another situation. And yet I have this commonality that I see in him. And by establishing this commonality that I see in a kind of a kinship in a weird way, and this has to do with doing the course. It's not just me trying to be touchy-feely or warm and fuzzy.
Right.
So I'm seeing this guy as there's a kinship there. And when I see that kinship, I recognize, oh, there are these other people, these other guys that I haven't bothered to see or explore that kinship. And through this one, I say, oh, these others are also kindred. These guys, so that I start to see that's a miraculous intervention. In other words, through the one, I say, oh, but there's then this one, and this one, and this one, and which one over here? Wow, and then there's that one in the past. I start to realize that through this one, I have that. Now, through this one, let's go through the one guy that went from let's say the black hoodie to the blue checkered shirt, and now he feels great. So let's take him. Now I'm in a holy relationship with this guy, because it's not, it's a very, very vague physical relationship. But I'm going to say it's a holy relationship because it's releasing me into understanding the way I relate to this larger world of people. And as I relate to this guy, the so-called opportunities or demands, however I look at it, of that relationship start to unfold. And my purpose is what the Holy Spirit is suggesting to me. Change your purpose. It's not to be a hero. It's not to be a friend to all. It's not to figure out anybody's issues.
Right.
It's to see the atonement. It's to live and experience this atonement through the means supplied by the Holy Spirit. So if I have one glimmer of fear that the relationship will turn inappropriate, that I'm going to be asked something that's over the top, that I don't have the equipment to handle this particular situation. If any of those things enter in, and obviously they have to a small degree because I just mentioned them.
Right.
Right? As soon as those come up, it's back to the Holy Spirit. It's back to that. And to say, no, this is the holy relationship. It's general. We're not working with this guy with the check shirt. We're working with the sonship. We're working with everybody. And the only person I'm working with is the Holy Spirit.
Right.
The only thing I'm working with is the Holy Spirit. I'm not working with the guy with the check shirt or the others. Does that make sense? That's not who I'm working with. This is the sort of viral quality of these holy instants and doing this work. Right. It's viral. Yeah. It spreads and spreads.
Spreads. Yeah,
it spreads and spreads and spreads.
I wouldn't call it viral, but
it increases and spreads. It blossoms.
Yes.
There's also a blossoming aspect.
Yes. Okay. Paragraph 5. It is no dream to love your brother as yourself, nor is your holy relationship a dream. All that remains of dreams within it is that it is still a special relationship. Yet it is very useful to the Holy Spirit, who has a special function here. It will become the happy dream through which he can spread joy to thousands on thousands who believe that love is fear, not happiness. Let him fulfill the function that he gave to your relationship by accepting it for you, and nothing will be wanting that would make of it what he would have it be. So that last part there, let him fulfill the function that he gave to your relationship by accepting it for you. So he has a function in my special relationship. And it seems like I would be the one who's accepting it, but he's going to accept it.
No, let him accept it for me. Okay, and what this means is, using the example I just gave, essentially, by partnering with the Holy Spirit, I have turned the steering wheel over to the Holy Spirit. I'm no longer in control.
Right.
Let the Holy Spirit guide this relationship. Let it unfold in the way that it seems to be determined.
Right.
In the wisdom of this unfolding relationship that is all about, let him fulfill the function that he gave your relationship, meaning that the function is, for me, the atonement.
Right.
That's the function.
That
It's
is the
forgiveness.
function.
It's the
Yeah.
atonement. That's
Yes.
it.
It is.
So gave your relationship by accepting it for you, and nothing will be wanting that would make of it
What he
would have it be.
Yeah.
So in this example, you see, this particular person is a special relationship because they exist in time and space.
with you.
Yeah, with me, right,
Yes.
with me. So I have a relationship with this person. The Holy Spirit, as soon as it comes in and starts working in that relationship, all this is a channel. It's only a channel for the Holy Spirit to do the work of the atonement through this relationship. And you'd say, well, through me. No, through the guy in the checked shirt, through the way he's related to someone else. Suddenly I'm out of control, and you have to back off and say, wow, look at the connectivity. Look at the things that are happening in a wonderful way. And suddenly I'm a witness to a working that isn't localized in me. The only thing that happens with me is awareness.
Right.
That's all that's going on. And I get the goosebumps. I get the goosebumps in the awareness. And hopefully those other guys get the goosebumps in the awareness. But what it ends up doing is, specifically, there's people there that have issues in their marriage, they have issues in their relationships, they have personal issues of being vets in Vietnam, they have personal issues of an inner torment and difficulty. And I'm just saying, I feel a kinship with this group that I did not have any interest in participating. I like to shield myself from these characters.
Right.
And now I feel a kind of a kinship, recognizing that I'm a bozo on this bus. Holy Spirit's the driver of the bus. And it's my only function is to sit there and witness
Right.
the thing going on,
Right.
and to respond, be as responsive as I can. Does that make any sense?
Yes, I think so. And the first line of that paragraph was, it is no dream to love your brother as yourself, nor is your holy relationship a dream. So the fact that you experience this, relationship right now, and it's, well, it's a form of love, not in like,
touchy-feely, right.
Touchy-feely. But and that's when the dream starts to break up, and reality is weaving its way in. It's actually sneaking in.
What comes to my mind is just, you got to let it be beautiful. You somehow or another, we have to let it be beautiful.
Right.
Whatever it is. I don't care if it's the end of whatever Putin is doing over yonder, or what you think he's doing, or I think he's doing, or they think he's doing, or Joe Biden is doing, or whatever world condition that seems rotted and fetid and horrible. Back off, Jack, and just allow it to be beautiful. not on your terms,
Right.
on the Holy Spirit's terms.
Right, exactly.
But be willing to enter into relationship
Right.
with the Holy Spirit on all those fronts. If those are fronts that are interesting, they might not be interesting.
Right. So all of it, as we recognize what's going on in our own minds, we recognize that we have judgments on all information that comes at us, whether it's somebody who's standing right close to us, who we don't know very well, and even if we do know them very well, it's really hard to know anybody really, really well. I don't care how close your relationships are, because we don't know ourselves. So how can we know somebody else? And so all of these are playing out. And if we remove and say, Holy Spirit, I truly don't know what I'm looking at. Particularly if you feel any disturbance, the Holy Spirit rushes in. And I swear the next time you turn on the television, it's a different piece of news. The next time you see that person who you thought you had certain kind of ideas about, they seem different. They're not who you thought they were. So all of it has the opportunity to change within a very short period of time. It does when we drop our preconceived ideas.
Okay, you've heard of the boiling frog. Where you put the frog in water and you turn up the heat slowly, slowly, and the frog slowly boils. But if you throw a frog in water immediately that's hot water, he'll jump out. Okay, that's the boiling frog analogy. I'm going to say this is sort of like with the Holy Spirit. It is like the healing frog analogy. Mm-hmm. In other words, we turn this up slowly. And so slowly, this healing happens to the amount of speed that I could tolerate. Mm-hmm. It's my tolerance. The Holy Spirit's working with me.
The Holy Spirit would be turning the heat off.
Yeah.
And allowing it to swim around. And all of a sudden it's got little lily pads.
No, exactly. The Holy Spirit's dial has these little things, and it's like not very many lily pads, not very fresh, clean, clear water, not many tadpoles, and it clicks up, until finally the frog is in this wonderland of lily pads and lotuses and clear water and little butterflies zooming around. I have to be willing to say to myself, it got better.
Yes.
It really got better. And to give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely. Give credit where credit's due. It's important.
If you feel the holiness of your relationship is threatened by anything, stop instantly and offer the Holy Spirit your willingness, in spite of fear, to let him exchange this instant for the Holy One that you would rather have. He will never fail in this, but forget not that your relationship is one, and so it must be that whatever threatens the peace of one is an equal threat to the other. The power of joining its blessing lies in the fact that it is now impossible for you or your brother to experience fear alone, or to attempt to deal with it alone. Never believe that this is necessary or even possible. Yet, just as this is impossible, so is it equally impossible that the holy instant come to either of you without the other, and it will come to both at the request of either. So, what I hear in this is, it's a little bit what I was alluding to in the talk about this guy, the hoodie to the blue shirt guy, is I'm speaking as though I'm the locus of activity. I'm the one with the Holy Spirit thing, as though this guy has another. No, he's a warm body. In terms of the way the Holy Spirit works, there comes a moment to where maybe I feel fear about, let's say, as I said, one of the issues of being either overextended or too busy or not interested or whatever happens to my head, that I feel like I'm falling out of it. Don't me, Phil, talking to myself, don't forget that the Holy Spirit is also working within that entity. And the Holy Spirit doesn't want to lose ground just because I feel like I'm flagging in some area of this thing. So the Holy Spirit keeps on keeping on. So I've got to also recognize that the locus of action, of apparent agency, like I'm talking as though it's me. We know it's all the Holy Spirit. But my perception is I'm the one that's getting the miracles. Maybe he gets the miracles, and maybe this other person. So you start to see the locus of agency depending on maybe my apparent limits, but the Holy Spirit's infinite means,
Right.
right? So the Holy Spirit has infinite means. So the locus of this healing agency can be other people that are either seen or not seen. So prepare yourself. If, you know, I'm not going to say, I was going to say if it works this way. I know it does.
Right. It does work that
I
way.
know it does.
Yeah. And, it says right in this paragraph, he will never fail in this, about taking the relationship that feels threatened. And so long as you stop instantly, I like that. I mean, you got to be, it's an instant. As soon as you recognize that the relationship that you handed over to be holy is somehow threatened.
I feel fear.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I have anxiety. I have white knuckles.
Yeah.
I have doubts.
Stop it and offer it to the Holy Spirit. Then, in spite of your fear, let him exchange this instant for the Holy One that you would rather have. It's an immediate thing, and I think that is just a very strong message that we need to remember, that whenever we finally have dedicated our life in this way, that we want our relationships to be holy, and now you saw some things happen, and now it's threatened by our fears or their fears or whatever we're perceiving, because they're all us. And then, now, give it over again. Don't stop now.
Well, okay, I talked again about the other guy, who was the next door neighbor named Tony, and we were working on the storm door. I've mentioned this about a half dozen times at least. Now, what happened there is structurally, I'm just trying to analyze this a little bit. Structurally, it's like not meant to be for me and Tony to be best buds.
No.
We're not going to go fishing together, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to go fishing, and really, he doesn't want to hear me talk. So we're different kinds of people, but there is the work of the Holy Spirit towards the atonement in this. And so in the apparent circumstances I'm in, we go this distance, our relationship is transformed, and it just so happens that he and his wife move away.
Right.
It just so happens. Now, I'm not saying that that's a solution,
the
distance, but that's the way these things...
the work was done.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that it's not, if I feel pressures or difficulties, don't worry.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
In the
What's weird is that I just thought fears are always experienced alone. That's why I didn't understand that particular sentence, I guess.
Well, no, at this point, I'm going to say in this way, there is a responsibility, and the responsibility is always, as we were discussing, the willingness. Mm-hmm. So the willingness is all that's required. And so in the case of, let's say, this guy that I'm talking about, that this is my study right now, or I could use Tony or anybody else, what happens is, when I feel anxieties and fears, I don't want to bring that to that relationship. I don't want that to be the gift I make to the holy relationship the Holy Spirit's busy working with.
Right.
Because we'll both feel it. We have creative agency.
Oh, right.
Do you understand? We have creative agency. Mm-hmm. And that creative agency isn't like a filter that filters out my anxieties and my fears and my worries. It's not like it filters them along and throws them in the gutter down the garbage disposal. No, that becomes the tools that I bring. That's why it's important in the moment when I feel the doubt, let's say overwhelm in this relationship that I don't see any future for, I don't understand it, and I feel overwhelmed in it, is to say, Holy Spirit, overwhelmed, that's just another form of fear. Mm-hmm. It's not time for me to go packing and starting to make creative decisions about how to work with it,
right.
or giving this person the brush off, or sitting different in the room, or distancing myself to make sure that we stay appropriate. No, stop that. Stop that. Stop that. That's all your little stupid creativity, and that person will experience the fear of that not creative, but inventive gesture.
Right.
So immediately, and do not pass go, do not collect $200, go straight to the Holy Spirit and say, condition red here, condition red, I want this holy relationship, and you go back. And so now we're in a new, you see, now it's a new relationship with that person.
Yes, I agree.
It's not a continuation of the other. It's a reset of the work of the Holy Spirit, showing the atonement, working through these channels. Holy Spirit doesn't want to say, well, we lost that one. It's not going to do
exactly.
that.
Right, right. And he'll bring you another one if you throw that one out. Now that you've ditched one, I
Right,
think.
right.
Okay. Paragraph 7. Whoever is saner at the time the threat is perceived should remember how deep is his indebtedness to the other and how much gratitude is due him, and be glad that he can pay his debt by bringing happiness to both. Let him remember this and say, I desire this holy instant for myself, that I may share it with my brother, whom I love. It is not possible that I can have it without him, or he without me. Yet it is wholly possible for us to share it now. And so I choose this instant as the one to offer to the Holy Spirit, that his blessing may descend on us and keep us both in peace. Well, that's addressed what we were just talking about, but this actually is a prayer of asking the holy instant to be restored. I desire this holy instant not just for myself, but that it can be share it with my brother whom I love.
Whoever is saner at the time the threat is perceived should remember how deep is his indebtedness to the other. So whenever if there's sanity in that holy relationship, that sanity will lead to the sense of indebtedness. Why? Because that person, whoever they are and whatever the conditions of this relationship are, they're a gateway to the atonement. The atonement being my contacting my original nature, my original purpose, my original state of being. And that's going to be joy and happiness, but it will not be achieved alone. It's going to be in relation to the other and others, in this way. So whoever's saner, and I'm imagining in this one, I can't help but imagine that it's addressing particularly, let's say, Helen Schuchman and William Tetford, and saying, whichever of you two in this dance that you're doing together is saner.
In other words, they understand it's been threatened, and
Yeah.
so therefore they're willing to call on the Holy Spirit, because that's the only sane thing to do is at that moment. So whoever's saner, which means that they recognize that the threat is there, should remember how deep is his indebtedness to the other and how much gratitude is due him, and be glad that he can pay his debt by bringing happiness to both.
We are. I'm going to go back to that situation I've been using in this whole episode. Here's this guy. Now, we're not talking special relationship in terms of best buds, toxic special relationship. I'm talking about special relationship because it's me and another, and that I sense this kinship, and it could be at risk even from talking about it or whatever. So I'm in this situation with this, and that person over there, that guy that I thought has need of, let's say, in another time or space, my ministration, because they got the black hoodie and they seem grim, and I'm going to bring joy to their life, kind of a thing.
Right.
But no, you explore the commonality, the commonness. Where are we together in this? And the Holy Spirit has to come in. When that happens, through the agency of the Holy Spirit, that person becomes not other. That other person, I don't care with the black hoodie or what, that other person is now, through the agency of the Holy Spirit, a portal into the truth. That's what they are. I don't care what it looks like. And sanity is given. The one who has any degree of sanity can see, yes, that person is a portal into the truth. A portal into the truth. Now, sometimes familiarity can be difficult in that. If you have two people.
And that's where the gratitude would come in. If you recognize that he's the portal to the truth,
Well, let's take a hot relationship. Let's take a hot relationship, meaning not two people that are sort of obtuse with each other in a setting that isn't that intense. Let's take you and I, or two people that are in a relationship. What does this look like? Because obviously, when I look at Joanna, I'm in a special relationship. I'm relating to the way she looks, our history together, things I think I know about her, and all these kinds of things. Now, there can be a moment, when I say we could get into some sort of a hot conflict,
Right.
where something happens and I get upset about it. I get upset about this thing, or she gets upset about
Yeah.
something that I did. So the holy relationship, the holy instant, is in a way kind of threatened in that moment. We can have an acceleration of our difficulties, and it's saying that somebody, please, John Bradshaw said in The Family, one rule of family of couple relationships is both people are not allowed to go crazy at the same time.
Right.
Okay.
That's not a good idea.
Somebody
I don't know how they can get sanity then.
Yeah, somebody's got to keep it together.
Right.
And you have to believe that if the Holy Spirit is involved in this, and I've invited that in, that is the likely outcome, that someone will maintain their sanity. And with that sanity, they have to then reflect on that this person is a portal to the truth. I don't care what,
Yes.
This person did all this stuff. Let's say they made this comment. Let's say this person is brusque. Let's say they ignored me. Let's say they said this stuff. My feelings are hurt, whatever it is. And to just back off, go back to this Holy Spirit and regroup. And then nurture that sanity that's our inheritance. And to say, and recognize this person is none other than that portal to the truth, which is saying, however it worded it in this.
Well, how much gratitude is due him,
How
and
much
be glad.
indebtedness to the other,
Yes.
and how much gratitude is due him, and be glad that he can pay his debt by bringing happiness to both. Be glad, I would say that, who's the he? That's what you were saying.
Yes, I was wondering, because it's not capitalized. So I assume it's either myself or the brother can pay his debt by bringing happiness to both. Let him remember this and say, the sanest one.
Okay, well, I'm going
So
to say
that would be the sanest person.
Right. It's the sanest person, or maybe we don't know.
Right.
And we just say the one way or another.
Whoever is sane enough is going to call out for help and say, I desire this holy instant for myself, that I may share it with my brother whom I love. And that's how it begins. It is not possible that I can have it without him or he without me. Yet it is wholly possible for us to share it now. And so I choose this instant as the one to offer to the Holy Spirit, that his blessing may descend on us and keep us both in peace. So it's a request to not let a conflict escalate for whatever reason, so that peace can be maintained. Because what is the signature of the holy instant? The signature of the holy instant is peace. Peace, not just to you, but to both of you.
Well, it said in paragraph 4, happy dreams come true not because they are dreams, but only because they are happy.
Right.
And so it's talking here about this quality of happiness. And that's why bring happiness to both. And the happiness, I'm going to say, is an aspect of the atonement. We're finding that sanity.
Right. And oftentimes if peace, where there's been conflict, if peace descends on the conflict, happiness is the result. Peace comes in, joy and happiness are expressed outward. All of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm so glad that's over.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go one other step. Is that let's say Joanna and I are at some form of loggerheads based on something. I don't even want to dream one up for us to work with.
That.
But let's say we're in some sort of a tete-a-tete kind of a situation. All I have really is the fiber of what I am and the relationship with the Holy Spirit. In other words, I've wanted to shift the goal. I've recognized that I'm now in the poisonous or toxic form of a special relationship in terms of shadows and overlays, and so that there's this tension or difficulty or brooding on this and that. And it's to back off and immediately shift my focus over to the Holy Spirit as the primary relationship.
Right.
Shift it over to the Holy Spirit as a primary relationship, because that's where the means are. I don't have the means to fix it.
Right.
I'm in a
Exactly.
contractive state. I don't know what to do about my contractive state. And only by shifting my attention over there and just allowing the Holy Spirit to have the means. And so now I might hear that evidence, that happy witness coming from her.
Right.
I might hear it coming from someone else.
Right.
I might see it coming from a book.
It might be something else new dawns upon the
New in my
mind.
own dawning.
Yes.
We don't know where it's going to come
no,
from.
we don't.
But the happy witness could come from any of those places.
Right.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Good deal.
That's it for this section.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.